we're going to bring in our pal, Jeff Paterson, who is brought to you by Greta. Right on my hat. The home of our electric watch parties, Greta is Canucks Army's spot to catch the game throughout the offseason playoffs and also our place to chill in the offseason. And speaking of those electric watch parties, we don't have dates just yet, but we're throwing around some, and we're going to be having another one soon, folks. It is going to be a lot of fun. And you won't want to miss it. So we'll have more details there. Greta is the place to be. Look at this. I got some play cards from Greta. I don't know if I'm going to be giving these out to people or what's going to happen, but I got a lot of play cards. I got my merch on. I am ready to go. We need to get Jeff some Greta merch as well. I wonder if Jeff is going to make an appearance at our watch party. Let's bring him in. Let's bring in Jeff Paterson. Jeff, what's your favorite arcade game?
Watch parties, Donkey Kong, without a doubt. Was always a huge Donkey Kong guy. I don't know if that's still a thing, but Donkey Kong was my game. You look like you've done your Christmas shopping with all those gift cards. And unfortunately, watch parties and rink-wide postgame don't necessarily mesh perfectly. But, maybe you make an early appearance before puck drops or something like that.
Maybe you do rink-wide live from Greta. I don't know, Jeff. I don't know. You're going to have two co-hosts there. We'll throw it around. We'll see what happens. But Jeff, thanks for doing this today. Obviously, Harmon's on the road in Nashville, so we got a lot of our morning skate updates from him. Let's start there. Andrei Kuzmenko, a healthy scratch tonight. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, not surprised. I mean, it's unfortunate that it's come to this so quickly again. I was hoping that the message had been sent with the back-to-backs in Seattle and San Jose, but really there hasn't been an awful lot to his game since then. And in fact, he has dropped lower in the lineup. And I think that the minute that Pia Suter came back, we knew that there were going to be difficult decisions. And I think Rick Tocchet deferred to Kuzmenko last week when Suter came back. Like, you could have taken him out that night, but I think they went with the rookie or second-year guy in Nils Amon, and that wasn't going to create a lot of waves and wasn't going to get a lot of attention. But eventually, I mean, PDG over the weekend, and here we are. We're back at this point in time where, Kuzmenko's not a fourth-line guy. We know that. And so he's not producing in the top six. The punishment has been to drop him lower in the lineup, but he's not doing the things that Rick Tocchet wants from a fourth line. He's got 2 hits on the season. I just, for my own curiosity and a little bit of amusement, I went back game by game to find the 2 hits. Now, maybe Rick Tocchet's missing out on an opportunity because one of them came in that Halloween game against these very Nashville Predators. So maybe it's the sight of the Preds uniform that gets Kuzmenko fired up. But he had a hit on Dante Fabro that night. The other one was on the road in Montreal with a hit on Mike Matheson. So there you go. You're welcome. The research has been done. Those are the 2 hits for Andrei Kuzmenko this season. Now, again, that's not who he is. That's not his game. But if you're playing him with not particularly skilled players, and I say that with all due respect to anybody that's in the National Hockey League, but if you're on the fourth line with Nils Amon and Phil DiGiuseppe or Sam Lafferty, who's fallen back down there, Rick Tocchet's got some expectations, and it's just evidently clear that that's not what you're going to get from Andrei Kuzmenko, and they've tried to, throw him a little bit of love by keeping him on the first unit power play. I was blown away this morning when I went back and I see that the tweet has sort of taken off, because I don't think anybody had realized he doesn't have an assist, whether on the power play or at evens, since November the 15th against the Islanders. So much focus on his lack of goal scoring, but this is a guy that has some playmaking to his game as well. And I'm just amazed that there's not a second assist somewhere on the power play in there, that he didn't touch a puck that wound up on the stick of, Hughes or Miller or Paterson or Besser, the way that he's going. So I'm a little surprised, but also, what is his contribution to this lineup? They're still winning way more than their share of hockey games without him, whether he's in the lineup and not playing much or coming right out of the lineup again here tonight. So it's a conundrum. I wrote about it 2 weeks ago at Canucks Army, and I just reread the piece. I mean, I asked then, how long can the coach and the player coexist? And really nothing's changed. And in fact, you could say they're further down the road here. So, the Canucks have enough in their lineup. It's not about needing the 39 goals that he scored last year. It's about him finding ways to contribute. And if you look at a Nils Höglander, for example, guys, I mean, it's been the inverse. He started the season in the press box, worked his way onto the fourth line, and with his hustle and determination and persistence, he has played his way higher in the lineup. And so Again, nobody's freaking out about Connor Garland and his 2 goals because you get an honest effort from him every single night out. And it's the hustle. It's the winning the board battles. It's, possession. It's keeping the puck in the offensive zone. And with Kuzmenko, just time and time again, there isn't enough in his game. So I'm not surprised, but this isn't great for a hockey club that's had so much success this year to sort of have this black cloud hanging over them and everybody asking, what are you doing with this guy that's making 5.5 this year and 5.5 again next year?
J-Pat, the other sort of area where his absence is going to create change is the power play. Morning skate today, they used Filip Hronek, meaning 2 defensemen on the unit. He was taking some reps in the bumper spot with JT sort of stationing the left side of the power play. Do you think 2 defensemen can work? And considering it's been struggling as a whole, what are you looking for them to show to be successful over the next little stretch?
Yeah, I'm a little curious about a right shot in the bumper. Maybe that sets up Elias Pettersson on the other side to feed the middle of the ice. But we know how much success JT Miller had sending pucks into the middle for Bo Horvat as a left-hander last year. Now, if you're Hronek, you're not going to be facing JT Miller. You're going to be looking the other way. So I sort of need to see a little bit of success here for them to prove that this method can work. But I'll give them every opportunity because generally Hronek's addition to the power play has been a heavy shot that either scores or creates loose change and rebounds for others to poke home. So I'm not a huge fan of the 3 forward 2 defenseman set, but again, it speaks to this. If you don't have the goal scoring Andrei Kuzmenko of a year ago, it exposes that area of weakness that this team needs one more legitimate scoring threat as a forward, and then you could swap Kuzmenko out and put that player in, but they don't have that player, so they're trying to get by. Now, bigger question about the power play. It's funny because the results are there. They're 5-0-1 in their last 6 games, but in those 6 games, I don't know if people realize Quinn Hughes has found the score sheet once in those 6 games, and it was 3 assists the night that Besser had the hat trick against Tampa. So if you just look, he's got 3 points in his last 6 games. Not terrible, but in 5 of those 6 games, Quinn Hughes has not produced a single point, and I'm not concerned, but what I will say is, if you think back to the first 10 or 15 games of the season on the power play was lights out good, and so much of that was Quinn Hughes just launching pucks from all angles and causing chaos in front of the net, and it was resulting in all sorts of power play success for the Canucks. They had a lot of player movement, but I think the central theme there was Quinn Hughes had found this shot of his and wasn't afraid to use it. His shot totals have dropped. I mean, they're 32 games into the season. If you just go on 16-game splits, he almost shot twice as much in the first 16 games as he has these past 16. Like, get back to that. Let Quinn Hughes do his thing. That, what makes him so effective. And if other teams are shading to him now and starting to take that away, I think he's creative enough to find ways around that. But that power play in the early going, I mean, it won them a ton of hockey games. Teams just didn't have an answer for them. And they've looked pretty predictable. They've looked a little slow. Puck movement has been great. Guys have had trouble controlling the puck. I like the pass from Miller to Pettersson in Chicago the other day, but I want to see that power play get back to being an absolute game breaker because I believe that the talent is there, that the component parts are there, but really the last 10 or 15 games, power play has kind of been stuck in the mud.
Feels like deja vu because the 3 points in 6 games for Quinn Hughes was the exact stat that we were talking about last week on your hit before the Tampa Bay game. We were talking about how it was exactly that same stretch for Quinn Hughes. So that's interesting. Casey DeSmith gets the start tonight, Jeff. Any surprise there? I know you did rank wide with me and I was touting that this was going to happen. Any surprise there with Casey DeSmith getting the start tonight?
A little, just that Thatcher Demko's coming off a week in which he was 4-0 and was the second star of the week and had the shutout not that long ago. Was he great in Chicago? Not necessarily, but a couple of power play goals and there were breakdowns in front of him. But what I like now is that it's so clear that Rick Tocchet and this coaching staff as a whole and this organization has the confidence that Casey DeSmith isn't just giving Thatcher Demko rest here. They believe in this guy and they haven't sheltered him. If you think back, second game of the season in Edmonton after the Oilers had been shellacked 8-1, now Demko was under the weather, and so their hands were forced a little bit there, but he went in, he delivered, got a start in Florida on that road trip, faced the Rangers. We know the kind of season that they are having, and here, this Nashville team, I'm excited about this game tonight. Great challenge for the Canucks. It'll be a good challenge for the Preds just because of the season the Canucks are having as well, but for Casey DeSmith to walk into Bridgestone Arena. Predators have won 13 of their last 16. They're not giving up much, but they're scoring. In fact, this surprised me yesterday. I was just doing a little bit of research. Since November 18th, no team has more wins or points, and only one team in the league has scored more goals than the Nashville Predators. You don't think of them as a high-scoring operation, but Philip Forsberg's having a terrific season. That line with O'Reilly and Gus Nyquist, they're producing a lot. North Van, shout out. We always like to pump North Van. Colton Sissons, he had a dozen goals last year. The guy's at 10 before Christmas, so not quite on the Brock Besser plan, but he's having an incredible run as well. So this is going to be a challenge for Casey DeSmith and the Vancouver Canucks, but they had the day off yesterday to rest up. We didn't like the slow starts necessarily on the weekend. I know Rick talked about that after the morning skate. I think the players are well aware of the problems and the challenges that Nashville poses. So I'd like to think the skaters are going to be ready in front of Casey DeSmith, but we saw that even if they weren't in Minnesota the other day, that he was up to the challenge then. And just look at that. Like his last two starts, both against the Minnesota Wild, the guy's given up one goal. One goal in those two starts. It's incredible he doesn't have two wins. But, that's life in the National Hockey League. Whatever the case, he seems dialed in. The fan base seems to be pretty confident. And when was the last time you could say that about, a backup getting in there and not just, again, giving Demko a night off. It's about a backup getting in there and giving them capable and competent goaltending that gives the Canucks a chance to get this victory here tonight.
JPEP, the Canucks have won 5 of their last 6, despite there being things that haven't necessarily gone the best. The Canucks haven't maybe played their A game recently when we talk about Kuzmenko, the power play, the starts. Even Quinn Hughes hasn't been quite at his Norris level, and yet they continue racking up wins. What's been most impressive about this recent stretch and why they've been able to have some success?
Yeah, Brock Besser to the rescue every night, it feels like. I mean, honestly, his consistency, though, right? Like he has the hat trick. He doesn't score in Minnesota, but he just kind of felt it was a matter of time before he got one against the Blackhawks. And so his run has been incredible. I like the spread scoring the other day at United Center, that it, really getting goals from 3 different lines. You could draw a through line, that third line, certainly, and just how reliable they have been during this stretch. And so, yeah, if Quinn Hughes isn't necessarily delivering here over the last couple of weeks, in the last few years, if that was the case, I don't think the Canucks had a chance to win, but they've got other guys that are picking them up. Earlier in the season, we said a little too reliant on the power play and the 5-on-5 scoring, bit of an issue, but the other day in Chicago, they get 3 of their 4 goals at even strength. So I like that. I just think it's been the depth of this team. And in fact, the addition of Nikita Zadorov and the depth that they've got on the back end as well. So yeah, maybe Quinn Hughes hasn't been at his very, very best, but that pairing with Zadorov and Myers, to answer your question, Harm, in these last 6 games, I think we all thought that was just going to be an absolute carnival and wildly entertaining to watch with, these 2 giants on defense. And for the most part, they seem to have stabilized each other somehow, some way. Who knew that Nikita Zadorov was going to have that effect, a calming effect on Tyler Myers? But, just really quietly, they've been very, very effective. Obviously, Zadorov stepping up to defend Jeff Paterson the other day. And I think, that's an element that they've been missing for the last little while. It's not going to do that every game, but it's just that when the Stars haven't had their very best, there have been enough sort of spot duty performers stepping up into the breach. And that third line right now is just so fun to watch and to see them getting rewarded finally. The hard work's been there. The offense hasn't, but what are they? They're all on a 3-game point streak right now. Dakota Joshua seems to be feeling it. And where I thought Pia Suter would get plugged right into that line at some point upon his return, I don't think you're touching that line with Teddy Bluger in the middle. So they've been fun to watch. And I think they've been a big part of this 5-0-1 run.
Jeff, great stuff as always. Thanks for doing this.
All right. Looking forward to it, as I said, because I think this is going to be a good matchup. I'm looking forward to the Dallas game as well. These are good tests for the Vancouver Canucks. And, they pick up 3 of 4 to start the road trip. So even if they can get a split, if they can win one of these last 2, they guarantee themselves 5 of 8 points. If they get a win in Nashville, then you step into the ring in Dallas, you take your best swing, and boy, that could be an incredible road trip for them. But one at a time, the Preds, I'm sure, will give the Canucks all they can handle tonight.
One at a time and one rink-wide Vancouver episode at a time. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Jeff. And as I said, you can go check out Rink-Wide Vancouver post-game Jeff Paterson with a string of hosts, one of which is Irfan Ghaffar, who is going to be my co-host in studio tomorrow. And people were asking in the YouTube live chat what happened to our set. Harmon's in Nashville. I'm feeling a little bit under the weather, so I'm staying home and doing the show from home. But I'll be in studio tomorrow with Irf.
Yeah, the sun's setting too, so you can just progressively see my room getting darker and darker and darker. And the problem is there's no ceiling lights. So like I can turn on some of my lamps, but that doesn't really do anything for the lighting.
At least you got that Amazon gift card, my friend. At least you got that.